Welcome to the Scott Townsend Show, brought to you by Dietzo Man Productions.
He was just killing those guys, and kudos to them. I mean, they did a great job. Good players, all. Don't get me wrong. It's just, I felt like it was he really worked those guys out.
William Johnson was on the Splash Club. I guess that's what they called it, or swim team. And
Savage.
Chris Hayes.
Yep. Lauren Rolfing.
Lauren Rolfing.
We had quite a few swimmers.
I remember all those guys kind of had not funny
Tim Brenner.
hair, but not yet Tim Brenner. They all had kind of discolored hair because of all the
chlorine. Yeah.
They all had kind of green, yellow hair. Hey, this is Scott Townsend. Welcome back to the Scott Townsend Show. And today's another installment in the last of the Col-Hi Wildcats 1982 series. Col-Hi, or it was College High School, and we call it Col-Hi. College High School was a high school, one of two high schools in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. And that in 1982, when I graduated and the people who I am interviewing graduated, that was the last year for that school. And then they combined the two high schools, and it's since then in 1983 it started to be known as Bartlesville High School. So 40 years later, almost 40 years later, just a few more months to go probably, we thought it would be fun to interview some of the graduating class of 1982, the last graduating class of College High. So we've done Chris Service. If you've been following along on this podcast and you're familiar with some of the school and the graduates, we've had Chris Service and Stacy Dennis and Donnie Moreland. And today I have with me another good friend, old friend. When I say old, I mean just a long time. He's not old. Anyway, Glenn Goodrich, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So what's going on, man? What have you been up to these days?
Well, I live on the east side of Dallas, Texas, and work with computers for a living, do IT for PNC Bank these days.
Okay.
For those who know a little bit more, I generally work with big data. So IBM Watson, data analytics type things, projects.
That's cool. So bring us up to speed. That's what you're doing over the last 40 years since we all graduated in 82, sorry. What are some of the highlights? What are some, just lightly skipping across the surface, what have you been up to for the last 40 years?
So I went to Oklahoma State University with you and several others. After college, I went to work with and doing computers primarily. For a number of years, I bounced around and lived in the Oklahoma City area. I had a small ranch there. I had 80 acres, cow calf, the whole thing. About 10 years ago, decided that maybe there was a different plan for my life than where I was at. And decided at that point to kind of, I'll say for lack of a better term, blow my life up, start over. Sold everything, moved to Texas without really even a secured job. And
what was that like?
It was a little scary. IT can be a little bit of a nomadic existence at times. Having been a developer for many, many years, it's kind of the nature of the beast. Especially with our generation. I liked the way Chris Service said it. Sometimes things don't turn out like you plan.
Right.
But since I've been to Dallas, things have rolled consistently.
That's good. What made you blow it up? What made you decide to blow everything up?
Well, so I had always, from the time we were very young, wanted to live on a ranch and work with computers. And what I found in Oklahoma was after about 2004, 2005, that the economy in Oklahoma didn't really support a guy like me, there were very few jobs available at the pay scale that I was looking for.
Mm.
So I had to make a decision about how I wanted to spend, shall we say, the rest of my life. My kids were not interested in my ranch. They weren't interested in living in the country. They wanted no part of it. I looked around and said, okay, maybe I need to change what I'm doing.
Mhm.
Things were not easy at that point. Things were rather difficult. I was making trips to Dallas on a regular basis at that point, and decided on a particular trip to come out and see this little town called Rockwall, Texas.
Mm.
For the Bartlesville graduates here, I would recommend highly coming down to Rockwall. It is a lot like Bartlesville, except for I call it Bartlesville South.
Huh.
Similar size, similar makeup around the town of people. The mix of people is similar to Bartlesville. My neighborhood kind of looks like Woodland Park a little bit.
Mhm.
I really like it, and it was odd. Came down on Labor Day, found something we liked, sold everything, and was moved here by Thanksgiving.
Oh, wow.
And it was just one thing after another. I got everything sold. I didn't have to lose my shirt to do it, and walked right into a beautiful home in Texas, and found work fairly quickly. I've been blessed. I mean, I've spent the last 10 years at Southwest, American Airlines, working as consultant, PNC Bank, and now as a true employee of PNC Bank. So
maybe I should blow everything up. Try something. Hey,
You know,
and you don't have any state income tax, so that's even
that's
better.
right. If you are doing, if you're where you're supposed to be, things get really easy. And that's kind of my thing about all this is, it's if you're doing the right thing, things can get very easy.
Mhm. So looking back in going back in the time machine here. So thinking back on Col-Hi, Col-Hi Wildcats, what's the first thing? What's your fondest memory? What's one of the fun memories of Col-Hi you've got, or one of the best?
So unlike a lot of people, I left for a period of time during our junior year and came back for our senior year.
I didn't know that.
And yeah, I left in the middle of football season, the night after the Col-Hi Center game in '81. Left town and came back for our senior year. I was blessed to be able to live with Mark Thompson and his family.
Oh, yeah.
Our senior year. That whole year I'll really cherish, because I got to spend it with the people I grew up with. Everybody from the Limestone kids to, all the others that have gone to school with in junior high and high school.
Who were some of the Limestone kids? Keith and
Oh, there's
Jansen?
we're a pretty tight group. So Jansen was not a Limestone kid.
Oh, yeah.
No, but Stark was. Chris, Laura Ayers, Robin. I was trying to think of for sure all the ones. We get mixed up with the Wayside kids a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
But Randy Savage.
Oh, yeah.
Lauren Johnson. Kathy Williams.
Not Lauren Green.
Nope, not Lauren Green. Kathy Williams, Lori Eastman. I can go on and on and on.
Yeah.
Honestly, Keith and several others. I work a little bit at trying to remember names. I get a little nervous about memory loss, so that's something that I do.
This is working with a Rubik's Cube. I taught myself how to fix it or solve it and do it, so that I'm just like that. I don't want to keep the synapses sparking.
I worry about that from time to time.
Yeah.
So,
what did you go to prom?
I really didn't.
Okay.
Our senior year, I went to the First Baptist MORP, they called it, with a good friend from Sooner,
Oh, okay.
and her name was Linda Tatro, and I went.
Linda Tatro.
Several people know Linda. She lives there in Bartlesville now, so I think
The
she's a teacher.
the First Baptist Church, I went there. You were there. Your parents.
Yep.
Those were good times. Dr. Cook and
Oh, it was
whoever else.
always it was a nice group. It was a good. We had a large group, so it was a lot of fun.
Mhm.
Got to take some interesting trips as a group and hang out. So,
What kind of grades did you make in high school?
oh man, I was a solid C plus student, B minus. I mean,
Better than
and
me.
I say that because I laugh. I mean, here we are. We had 296 in our graduating class. And we had 6 National Merit Scholarship finalists. I feel like, I mean, we went to school with some really smart people.
Mhm.
You've got your John Sayers, you've got Sandra
Yeah,
Yeager,
John
you've got,
Sayer.
you know, um, uh, there's several others that come out. Laura Ayers was another one. She was a really top student. Um, and I don't
Trisha
mean to
Hines,
shortcut.
was she?
Trisha was very bright,
Yeah,
and there's just a ton of them. When
yeah.
you start really looking at it, I felt like they probably had a hard time figuring out a valedictorian because
Mhm.
they had so many with good grades. So, but I feel like also that prepared us and gave us a better. I look back on that now, and when I had kids that went through public education, I was like, wow, I didn't realize what a great school system we really went through and
Mhm.
how much better of an education we got until the first real eye-opening experience was when I went to New Mexico for half of my junior year. And that was a little bit interesting because I was able to coast because I had done so much in Bartlesville that I was so far ahead. The the last um, the last experiment I did in chemistry in Albuquerque was the first experiment that we did at Col-Hi at the beginning of my junior year. So I'd already done the experiment once that year.
Right.
So they started at Col-Hi where most public schools finished. And so we really did get a great education because of that.
Mhm. It was a great education. I didn't appreciate it at the time, but looking back on it now, I wish I would have applied myself just a little bit more. If you, I always
Yep.
tell everybody I'm the third of the class that made the top 2/3 possible. You know,
Yeah, I've got it right there with you.
who was your most impactful teacher? Which
Oh,
teacher?
probably Mr. McKinney, the art teacher. I
McKinney?
heard, yeah, McKinney. There's a lot about McKinney that I don't know what people knew or didn't know. So McKinney was an all-state football player at Col-Hi in the late 50s, and 57, I think, was his high school year.
Oh yeah.
He, when we were in school, if people will remember, in the weight room, they had a picture of all the all-staters from College-High, and his picture was up there. And he played for University of Kansas in college and was hurt during a game, hurt his neck, had a neck injury. And that's why he was on track to become a professional artist and graphic designer. Because of his injury, he could not work a 40-hour week. And so he came home to teach. And for a number of years, he was actually the JV football coach in the, I'll say, late 60s, early 70s timeframe. And he was known because he would line the boys up.
Is that him?
Yes, sir. Yes,
I'm
yes.
gonna get my camera to
Yep,
focus.
yep. He would line the boys up, and if they could beat him at a 40-yard dash, they didn't have to run any more sprints that day.
Huh.
And the story always was he never lost.
Wow.
But by the time we got to Col-Hi, of course, he quit coaching and was just teaching. And he was hilarious. He would tell stories, did a lot of the Benny Hill limericks and routines under his breath quietly. But he was a character. He was fun.
I think Stacy mentioned him too.
Yeah. I think as you interview the class, I think several people will mention him.
Yeah.
So,
Sue Reynolds was another one that seems to be popular.
Sue Reynolds was a good friend of my parents and a very nice lady, as was Dennis Pinnell. You know, part of the reason why I got to come back and go to Col-Hi our senior year was that Pinnell was the principal.
Oh, really?
It didn't hurt that Mrs. Boland, Butch's mom, worked in the office.
Yeah.
But yeah, there were several factors that played into me being able to come back. In fact, Dennis Pinnell went to Oklahoma City with my dad and I. See, a lot of people don't know I was not allowed to play football our senior year. State board of coaches did not allow me to play because I didn't live with my parents. And Pinnell went with my dad and I to Oklahoma City to talk to the state board. So
well, so that turned out they upheld their decision.
They upheld their decision, and therefore I didn't play football our senior year.
Wow, I did not know that either. That Pinnell and got involved with your athletic career there.
Yep.
I reached out to Dennis Pinnell on Facebook and we connected. I'd like to get him on the show and talk to him about, his experiences.
I think that'd be good. I think he had some very funny things. I would love to hear him speak about the music over the intercom incidents.
Donnie mentioned that.
I won't name names, but yeah, it would be interesting to get his take on it after all these years.
I have a hard time remembering a lot about high school. I don't know if it's a selective I was pretty checked out, I guess. I don't know. I remember the hallways. I remember the lockers. I don't remember a lot of Mr. Burt, Coach Burt.
Yep.
I know
Coach
Bruno.
Burt, yep. I had Coach Seaborn as a teacher.
Oh, did you?
He was very tough, very smart. We would do things to him as a class just to get under his skin once in a while. And I remember one day he threatened to take us all out to the track and make us run laps. We were going to run Go Devils. I'm going to run you guys till you can't walk. I think it was a class full of guys, though. There wasn't a whole lot of girls. It was a physics class, but there was mostly all guys.
Bruno pulled me, Coach Bruno pulled me aside. I think it was my freshman or junior year. And I was super tall. I mean, I was right. I was already 6'4" when I was whatever. Yep. Anyway. So he said, "Hey, can I see you after class, after school?" And I said, "Sure." So I went to the gym and he had a basketball and he said, "So let's see what you can do with this basketball." He had an idea that maybe he's going to get this really tall, lanky kid to get on the basketball team. So I took the basketball and I just started trying to do stuff with it. And about 5 minutes later, Bruno goes, "Here, just give me the basketball back. We won't tell anybody."
Well, I was always really impressed with the guys that played basketball in high school because I felt like they worked harder in workout. And probably the only guys that worked as hard as they did or close to as hard as they did, maybe the swimmers. I mean, not that the football players didn't do our part to get in shape, but I felt like they ran hard. Bruno ran them hard. I always felt like it was that's part of why I never tried to play basketball in high school because it looked like to me he was just killing those guys. And kudos to them. I mean, they did a great job. Good players. All don't get me wrong. It's just I felt like it was he really worked those guys out.
When Johnson was on the Splash Club, I guess that's what they called it, or swim team, and
Savage.
Chris Hayes.
Yep. Lauren Rolfing.
Lauren Rolfing.
We had quite a few swimmers.
I remember all those guys kind of had not funny
Tim Brenner.
hair, but not yet Tim Brenner. They all had kind of discolored hair because of all the chlorine.
Chlorine, yeah.
They all had kind of green, yellowy hair or whatever.
Thank you for joining the Scott Townsend Show. We'll be back right after this.
Pop's Daylight Donuts. Man, they've got the best tasting donuts, sausage wraps, pastries in Northeast Oklahoma. And also, if you'll tell the staff there, hey, Scott Townsend said to give me a large spicy pig, they'll give you a free large spicy sausage wrap. But you have to tell them Scott Townsend sent you. So tell them, hey, Scott Townsend told me to tell you to give me a large spicy pig. So there's the offer. There's the call to action. So go to Pop's Daylight Donuts. Say hi to Mark for me. And yeah, go to Pop's Daylight Donuts and get you some. The other sponsor is Cast-A-Fly Outdoor Adventures.
Adventure. That's where it begins. We look to create and document our moments in time while embracing the majestic wonder and beauty of the great outdoors. Our quest is to explore the back roads of the Ozarks, camping, fishing, and just getting lost. Refresh your spirit and join us on our next adventure.
Paul and his crew invite you to subscribe to the Cast-A-Fly Outdoor Adventures YouTube channel.
I don't know, but anyway.
For me, though, the other part of high school I remember is because I've always been a car guy. And so I can remember pulling up in front of the school our senior year, especially. I would park my car in a certain spot. Stark would pull his car in a certain spot. Jeff Harris would show up and put his car in a certain spot. I had a Mustang.
What year?
I have pictures if you want a picture of it. My senior year, I had a 70 Mustang coupe, and I drove that car through college till after I got married and got rid of it. In fact, I kind of know where it is at the moment. I've run it down a little bit.
Huh.
Stark had a Tweety Bird yellow and black 71 Mustang, and I actually have a picture of it too somewhere. I remember Jeff Harris had a really nice Firebird with a big block motor in it. It was a nice car. There were several others that had nice cars. The one that used to crack me up the most was Margaret Tinkle, because she'd drive her dad's Pantera about half the time. And I'm like, there's the fastest car in the parking lot right there, you know.
I do remember that. I almost remember that Pantera.
Yeah, it was a beautiful car and very well put together. Some of those Panteras aren't as well put together as that one was. That one was a gorgeous car.
Yeah.
And you know,
it wouldn't compare to my. It wouldn't compare to what I drove. It was the Kingwood Estate station wagon. I mean, that was one hot. That was one cool ride right there.
Yeah,
the
there you go.
radio inside. Yeah.
Yep. I was trying to remember. There was one of the guys that was into Dodges and had a really nice Dodge, and I cannot for the life of me remember his name off the top of my head. And he ran around with Jerry Green, but I would have to go look up his picture.
Oh yeah.
On him. He was a very quiet guy. Never know, but he had a very nice ride. He had done the work, and it was a very nice hot rod. And
what was it about the Mustang? Well, why did you choose a Mustang?
I'd always wanted one since I was a kid. My first car was a '69 fastback Mustang, and I unfortunately wrecked it and fixed it and sold it to Charlie Penley. And,
oh yeah,
the Penleys drove it there for a while, and I think they sold it to Eric Cunningham, who was in a lower class. But after that, I lost track of it.
Guess I wasn't aware of that either. I wasn't aware much of anything in high school. I don't think. Oh, just getting through the days, man.
Those were good times.
Yeah. What was the most, I don't know, what's the craziest, what's the most trouble you got into in high school?
Oh, in high
or
school.
the senior year, if you did. I don't remember you getting in trouble.
Our senior year, I had to do something where I ended up, there is a vault at Col-Hi behind in where the secretaries are and where the assistant principal's office is.
Oh yeah.
And I was, for some reason, ended up in that vault area, and there was a huge banner in there that said, "Seniors of 67 say beat sooner." And I absconded with that thing, and we went and it was made out of a sheet or sheets that were tied together.
Mm.
And we took the 67 part and covered it up with a sign that said 82.
Who's we?
Me and Stark did this.
Okay.
I'll name names. And so we put it up. We went up on top of we broke into the school at night, and we were going to hang it off the top of the school. And then they canceled school the next day. It was the day of the Col-Hi Sooner basketball game, because they didn't let us play football that year. It was the basketball game. And it snowed. It was a snow day. We didn't have school that day. So we had to break back into the school, get the thing off the roof before anybody saw us. And then we took it to the basketball game, and Stark snuck it in under his coat, and we spread it out. In the senior yearbook, there's a picture of that somewhere. I think it's in the senior yearbook or the addendum that came out after the senior yearbook, but it's at the Col-Hi Center basketball game. And there's a sign, there's a whole group of a row of people holding up the sign.
Oh, yeah. I have to look that up and see what's going on.
That was probably the deepest I got into it. I knew about and was around several of the other things, including the pigs, but I wasn't necessarily the one, I just knew about them.
Right. There was the car in the lobby.
And I knew all the details, but.
So why didn't they let us play the last game, the football game? Was it because there was such a rivalry? They just didn't want.
Exactly. It had gotten out of hand. That was a big reason why they recombined the high schools. There was really a couple of different reasons. It was beginning to emerge in the late 70s. And I'll go back to the class of, say, 78, 79. The rivalry had gotten white hot in town, and people were egging houses, cars, and just all over town, and had gotten really almost a little dangerous right in through that time period.
There was a burning of this. For those of you listening or watching that don't know what we're talking about, so Col-Hi Col-Hi was on the southwest kind of side of town. Sooner was on the northeast side of town. Sooner, and they were the Spartans, and we call them the Green Weenies, and I don't know what they called us, but so back and forth. Started off, the rivalry, as always, starts off good humored, good natured, and whatever, but it kind of escalated, as Glenn is saying, over the years, to the point where it was almost a war.
I mean, by the time we would have been freshmen. It was insane.
So it was a burning. There was a burning of the Spartan, where they would build a
Spartan every year. Yeah, yep, big pep rally.
Yeah.
And but the other thing that happened right in through there, in the midst of all that, it began to the schools, also the enrollment had gone down.
Yeah.
And if you looked at the football teams that were on the field, I'll say from 1980 on, Sooner had developed they had a number of really good running backs that were coming through the Sooner side of town. Ricky Sapola, who graduated in 81 from Sooner, was a great example of that. And there were several others that I don't know the guys per se off the top of my head. I knew Ricky. And then Col-Hi had emerged as more of, we had a lot of linemen. We had a bunch of big, tall kids, big, heavy set kids. Darrell Williams, is it Williams? There was
Dennison.
Dennison was a good running back, and but he was not. James was a good guy. We just didn't quite have the caliber that were definitely going to college. Now, James did get some reviews from the colleges, but the average kid at Col-Hi, of the town, I think they felt like if they could merge the two teams together, and they did. They merged the two teams and won state championships through the mid 80s, and that was the whole a part of the combination of the schools. I think they felt like they could dominate athletics in Oklahoma by doing that. Well, was that incentive.
The schools were losing money too, because with the dwindling population for each high school, they were unable to collect as much money from the state. I think that's the way it went.
Right.
So by combining into one high school,
They
having
got
a
more
large,
money because they were a 6A school at that point. So they got more, I guess, money out of the programs is also. That would be a great topic to cover with Pinnell because he was right in the middle of that.
So you're, I ask everybody this, so I'll ask you. So if you're standing there at the graduation and you're Glenn, 18-year-old Glenn Goodrich is stepping off the stage after he's received his diploma and shaking Pinnell's hand, knowing what you know now, what would you tell your younger self?
So from my perspective, I would tell myself to slow down. Don't be in such a hurry to be an adult. And don't really savor the time, I think, in your 20s a little more. Be willing to be on your own a little more than what I was.
Why are we in such a hurry to speed through that 20 to 30s?
You know, I'm a little bit like Chris Service. I left high school with an idea and a plan, and you know, there was something different in store for me. And
Yeah.
I think that some of it would have worked out had some things gone differently in life. But, you know, what's meant to be is meant to be. And sometimes you just have to experience it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was on the right track for right after high school, went to KU, film production major, and then from there I went to OSU journalism, and the only thing I remember a professor saying at OSU was, and by the way, representatives from Disney are going to be here next week to interview those of you that might want to, do an internship there. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. So I went into the interview, and I had always, ever since I was a little kid, I always said, one of these days I want to work for the Disney company. And so here I am, I'm knocking on that door, and it opened, and I went. And then after graduating Oklahoma State, went back, got into guest relations at Epcot, was on not the fast track, but it was a faster track than most. And then I just tossed it all away. Just threw it away. Couldn't.
Yeah, I get it. It's, sometimes you do things and you think that's going to be the dream. That's exactly what you're looking for in life. And it becomes a struggle, it becomes a hardship, and you realize, well, this works to a point, but it's not exactly, I'm not happy, and I'm not going to be happy. And while I did some things that made me very happy at the time, I'm in a much better place at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just a matter of being where you're supposed to be and doing what you're supposed to do.
And no matter what you do, no matter what kind of failures or things that you go through, if I hadn't wound up back in Tulsa, I would not have met my wife. And, I've got a super fantastic wife and a great son, 27, he's married. Life is good in that way. So it makes you appreciate what you've got.
It does. And when you're in the right place, it's funny how it all just kind of clicks. So,
Yep. What's been your greatest accomplishment since graduating?
Wow. Geez, I don't know. I've done a lot of different crazy things. I've had some great joys and some odd sorrows. I don't know. That I'd have a hard time narrowing it down to more than about 3 or 4. I mean, I think that people, it's wonderful that through this medium, we're able to reach out, connect with people and friends. I think it's amazing how well we've been able to connect as a class. Some of the longest and best friendships I've ever had are, out of Bartlesville.
Mm-hmm.
And through the last 10, 15 years with the internet and all of the hoopla about it. The fact is, it's been a great way to reconnect with people that I truly appreciate and feel blessed to know. Like I said, some of the smartest people I know are, people I've grown up with, and I've had, more good times with these people, and I look forward to having more. I think it's fun for us to be able to get together as a group. I enjoy seeing everybody, a lot of which as we get older seems more and more like, I'll call them family. A lot of the Limestone kids I feel that way about. They're almost like kin. It seems like I've known them that long. So yeah.
Last question. Finish this sentence. I wonder whatever happened to.
Oh gosh. Richard Whitmire would be my person. Yeah, Rich Richard. I have no idea what happened to Richard. I've never really kind of run him down. I think his brother's Ron's on Facebook, but I've never run Richard down. I know quite a bit about where several people are, but he's one that I've never heard anybody say anything about or seen anything about. So
if you're listening out there, you're watching, and you know Richard Whitmire, and you want to get in touch with us and let us know what he's doing, leave a comment, send an email, let us know. But well, that's cool. You look just like your dad. I was telling Ben the other day, my brother, that I was going to be talking to you, and Ben was like, he looks just like his dad. I was like, I know, he looks just like him.
All the Goodriches look the same. I have a bunch of cousins that live in the Catoosa area, over around Owasso and Catoosa. When I'm with them, everybody assumes their last name is Keeter, and I'm assumed to be part of their tribe. I'm like, no, they're part of the Goodrich, because we all look the same. And,
that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, any last words? Any parting comments before we?
No, I truly appreciate you letting me do this. I think it's a blast, and I think it's a great thing that you're doing. I enjoy your podcast very much, all of them. I've listened to quite a few of them. You have a very great base there going, so it's a lot of fun.
That's cool. Well, I appreciate that. Well, all right, Glenn. I'm gonna wrap it up here. So if you as always, if you like this show, share it, subscribe, like on YouTube and in the podcast. You can find us on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. And especially if you're a Col-Hi Wildcat, make yourself available to this mini series, and there will be more as we go. Glenn, who do you think should be the next person? I need to do a boy girl.
I'd like to see you go get. I mean, there's several people available. I think you could get fairly easily. I think you could probably go get Laura Ayers. You could probably go get Amy Wallen fairly easily. They're both online quite a bit. Robin Hottenstein kind of retired off to the Carolinas, I believe, with her husband, and that I think she has a lot of people that she has a lot of friends online. I know that would probably love to hear from her, not just the Col-Hi kids, but a lot of people in general. I think it would be interesting to hear from Sandy Yeager, and she is back east, and
one of the super smart kids.
Yeah. I think Christy Brooks would be an interesting conversation. Christy travels a lot, but if you could catch Christy in town. I think you had mentioned you were going to try to get Rhonda, and
they're I guess they're trying to plan a reunion. Somebody is, I guess it's Rhonda and some crew. So this might be a good way for them to disseminate information about upcoming events and how it's progressing, the planning's progressing, and things like that. So might have Rhonda on, not only to talk about her year or last year there, but also talk about reunion plans and things like that. Well,
Yeah.
all right, man.
I appreciate you doing it. Like I said, it's a lot of fun. And, you know me, I can talk. So
Don't have any problem with that.
I'm like
good.
Keith. I can visit. So yeah. So if you get bored and just need somebody, holler at
Yeah.
me.
All right, Glenn. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And hope you have a good rest of your day.
So for Glenn Goodrich, this is Scott Townsend. Thanks for joining the Scott Townsend Show. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you later.
The Scott Townsend Show is a Dietzo Man production. For more episodes, visit the Scott Townsend Show YouTube channel, listen on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.